Good morning, Carl. So, Carl, my first question to you is can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and also about how you feel about today's interview?
Of course, Anil, I can. However, there's something I want to say before I start my story. I
Yes.
have been to, I have been to India 35 times. I have visited more than 105 cities in India.
Wow.
I have driven thousands and thousands of miles. And Anil, I wouldn't be surprised if I haven't met more people in India than you have.
I know, Carl, you have been traveling all over the country. Yes. I think you have visited more cities than I visited in India.
And when people ask me about India, they get a questioned look in their eyes and they say, "What did you think of India?" And I tell them, "I love India. It's
Oh,
beautiful. It's fabulous. And what I love most about India are the people,
wow.
the people."
Yes.
And so uh, we're going to have a lot to say if you'll listen to me.
Oh, yes.
And so,
We want to know everything about you today and many things even which I don't know. We have been so close. And Carl, I tell everywhere that whenever I go on stage or whenever I talk to my people, I tell them that I have one best friend and we don't have same age and we live very far from each other, but we are the best of the friends.
yes, and when people ask me here in America, do you have many friends? And I say, no, I have a lot of acquaintances. I have many clients in my law practice, but I think I could count on my fingers on one hand the number of best friends I have. And right now I can think of two. And one is two are Anil and Bindu Narang, and another one is a guy that lives about 300 miles from me in Chicago, and his name is Heinz Brisky.
Oh,
And I think you met Heinz Brisky when you came to Chicago to give.
remember, I
Uh,
recommend him, yes.
you gave business building seminars here and conventions here, and I think you met Heinz.
All right.
So, you want to know about my childhood?
Yeah, Carl, we want to know everything which you have to tell because we want to know some things which even we don't know because this Zoom and this technology has made it very convenient for us to connect. And distances have already finished, and I can see you right in front of me, like we are sitting in front of each other. So we can
Yes.
talk, chat casually. So we can feel totally free, and we can talk about anything we want to talk today.
Yeah. Now, previously, if I was coming to India, or if you were coming to America, and I got off the plane in India, I would reach out and give you a hug,
Oh yeah.
and you would reach out and give me a hug.
Yes.
But today, with the new social distancing standards, now I say namaste.
Namaste. That's become very popular all over the world. People have started saying namaste everywhere. Yes.
Yes, yes. And so I was born almost 82 years ago. It'll be 82 years in a couple more months. And it's strange because my father only had 5 years of school.
Oh,
He only achieved a fifth grade education. And my mother had 3 college degrees. So you would think that my mother was highly educated and my father was not. However, my father was self-taught, so
oh,
they were so they were both highly educated,
oh,
and because of my father teaching himself instead of going to school. And I had two brothers, and one sister. One brother got killed in an automobile accident. So now living, I have one sister and one brother. And my sister is an emerald, as a founder's emerald in my business.
Oh, wow.
And she lives in Chicago, and yeah, she lives close to where my daughter Carla lives, and I know that you have stayed at my daughter Carla's house.
Oh, yes, we remember having stayed in Carla's house, and that was one of the most memorable time in our life.
Okay, so in my childhood, uh, I had a very happy childhood, and I have loved my brother and my sister my entire life, and I stay in close touch with them yet today. My brother, my sister became a teacher, and my brother became a CPA, a certified public accountant, or I think you call them chartered accountant. I'm not sure. So we remain close. When I grew up, starting as a little boy, as soon as I possibly could, neighbors would allow me, I would start mowing their yards, and I would do it for free, hoping that they would then, if I did a good enough job, then they would want to hire me. And so I started free, and then they hired me, and I got a bunch of jobs mowing people's lawns. And then after that, my brother and I and my sister, we got 3 paper routes. We delivered newspapers door to door over a large territory. We had paper routes early in the morning, and we had paper routes at night after we got off of school. So we worked hard, and we made pretty good money.
Oh, very good.
And we did that all the way through high school. And then after high school, I went away to college. I went away to the University of Illinois. And I spent 8.5 years in college, first getting a degree in political science, then getting my CPA certificate, my chartered accountant certificate, because since my brother had one, I thought I should have one too. And so after it ended up, I studied accounting and got my chartered accountant certificate. I knew one thing for sure, Anil. I knew for sure that I hated accounting. And so, but my accounting professor called me after the final exam. He called me into his office, and I was afraid maybe he thought I had done something wrong. Maybe he thought I had cheated. I don't know what he was thinking, calling me into his office. But I went into his office, and he said, "Sit down," and I sat down, and he said, "I want to ask you a question." And I said, "Sure, go ahead." He said, "I know that you passed your CPA, your Chartered Accountant certificate, but have you ever thought about going to law school?" Because he was a law professor. And I said, "No, I never have." And so here's what he said: "You would be a good lawyer."
Oh.
6 words. You would be a good lawyer.
Oh.
And so I said, "Okay, I'll go." And so because of those 6 words, that someone who was not even my friend, someone who was just a teacher, told me, made a profound change in my life, because I went to law school and I loved the practice of law. And you might say, "Well, Carl, if you love the practice of law," and you see, I practiced law for many years before I joined Amway. If you loved the practice of law, why did you leave the practice of law and become an executive diamond in the Amway business?
Yeah, that's the question people usually ask.
Yes, and here's the answer. the practice of law strangled me. It literally had me by the throat because I had a big law firm building, and that had a big mortgage. I had many employees, and Anil, every month I had to bring in $48,000 in legal income before to pay all of the expenses before I could even begin to make one single penny.
Yeah.
And so I could start making money after I paid everybody else, paid my mortgage, paid my utilities, paid the secretaries, the paralegals, the other lawyers. And so it had a stranglehold on me in terms of my time because so one day one of my secretaries asked me if she could show me a business opportunity. And I said, "What is it?" And she said, "It's called Amway." I said, "I have no interest in Amway. That would make me even busier." She said, "Well, it could possibly do the opposite. It could free you up from being so busy right now if you wanted more freedom." She said, "It could give you freedom." And I said, "No, I'm not interested." Well, then just a few days later, a good friend of mine who was one of my business partners in a international harvester farm implement businesses, he came to my house and he started drawing out this business plan, and he showed me the plan.
Okay.
And I said, "What's this called?" He said, I was afraid you're going to ask." He said, "You might not like the name, but," he said, "I've grown to really like it. It's called Amway."
Oh.
I said, "Amway?" I said, "I don't want to do Amway. I don't want to sell soap." And he said, "Well, you don't understand what I just showed you." Because he said, "Your primary duty would be to show this business opportunity to other people and invite them to join you, and then to teach them our system, and then let them help them build their businesses." So he said, "Now, Carl, you would become an expert, and then you would help others build their businesses." And I said, "I don't know." So I said, "No, I don't think so. No, I'm not going to do that." So he said, "Okay, but I'm just going to leave a couple tapes." So he left a couple of audio tapes on my table, and he left. And I said, and those audio tapes laid there for several days. And one day I picked them up, and I was going to go somewhere in the car, and I plugged them into my audio system in my car, and I started listening to them, and it was amazing. And so, even although my friend didn't have the credibility himself because he was just brand new in the business, these speakers on these audio tapes had enormous credibility because they had spent years doing this and they knew the answers. And so the tapes really piqued my interest. And so that's how I eventually got involved in Amway.
So, Carl, did you join with your secretary, or did you join with the person who gave you the audio tapes later?
No, I joined with my secretary
Oh, wow.
because she tried to show it to me first.
Okay, great.
My friend who showed it to me second, I explained to him that this was the very same business that my secretary had been trying to show me, and said she had tried to show me first, and she had the very same tapes, the audio tapes, and she was very involved. I just decided to join her because she continued to work for me at the law practice, and I was with her every day. And so I felt obligated to join with her.
Very good. And I can also understand from your story that you related more with the people on those audio tapes than you related with your secretary or with the other person who, your friend who showed you the business. But those were the actually the people on those cassettes who sponsored you into the Amway business.
Exactly. And here's the reason why. They, even though I didn't know the people on the tapes, they had business credibility.
Oh, yeah.
And they had credibility and experience in building the Amway business to the diamond level and above with businesses all over the world. And so how could I deny that? You know, I could be skeptical about the person showing me the plan, but I could not be skeptical about the tapes.
Oh, very
And then the next thing my secretary did immediately was introduce me to her upline.
Oh.
She introduced me to her upline platinum. And he was a businessman in Peoria, Illinois, and he had a lot of credibility. And he immediately, before I even joined the business, he set up 2 meetings at my house and asked me to invite my friends. And he said, I will come and show your friends the plan, and I'll show you the plan again and again. And so let's just see if you have any friends who might get interested. And so that was a different twist, because when my friends came to my house and he showed the plan, they got interested and they were ready to join. And I said, well, I think I better join first so that you can join down under me.
Wow, and that's amazing. Carl, your joining story of joining the Amway business is very amazing. And you know, there's a lot to learn from your story. And number one thing I learned was the power of the tapes. And number two, your sponsor was smart. He did a meeting in your home even before you joined the business, and your people got interested. So that's very amazing story and a lot to learn from this story. And Kyle, how did you meet Marsha?
Well, Marcia, of course, Anil, you know Marcia. You've met Marcia on several occasions.
Oh, several occasions.
Yeah, when she came to India 3 times, and brought my children, and she met you when you came here to the United States several times. You know that she's the love of my life, and she's the reason for my success. Boy. And I'll tell you the stupid things that Marcia did to build our business.
Okay.
Stupid.
Oh, wow.
And I said, Marcia, what you're doing is stupid. And she said, well, what am I doing that's so stupid? And I said, you're giving products away.
You're giving products away. Okay.
You're gifting products to our friends and our relatives, and you're gifting products to people that I'm showing the plan to.
Oh.
And I said, you're giving away all our profits. She said, Carl, it's a way to build the business. If the people like the product, if they like the business, that's fine, but you better make sure they also like the products.
Right.
And so she gave them sample products, and they like the products. She usually gave them to the women, because the women wanted to know when we showed the plan, the women were always asking about the products. How good are these products? You know, and they would ask, these products seem really expensive. And Marcia would say, I know these. Marcia would say, I know how you feel. I felt the very same way. But let me tell you what I found. She used that feel, felt, found concept.
Right.
And she said, I felt they were expensive, and I tried them, and I found that they were highly concentrated, and I found that you used a very small amount for each time you use them, and they last a long time, and in reality, they are cheaper than products on the marketplace.
Okay.
And so those were the stupid things that Marcia did. And you know what? When I sponsored people and didn't share products with them, they didn't buy anything. They just let me sponsor them, and they didn't buy anything. When Marcia shared products with them, then they started buying products, and then they started getting involved in the business and sharing the business, because they saw that the products really were very important and very valuable and good to use. So I cannot deny that Marcia is the reason for my success.
The most amazing thing in your story is that you joined the business when the business had already been in your country for more than 30 years. So from that situation, how did you build this business to so big level and so fast?
Well, the business was 33 years old in the United States when I joined. And people and my friends, they did laugh at me, and they said, Carl, the prime time to build the business is already past. And you can't make it anymore. You better stay practicing law. And I said, see, I didn't like accounting. Remember, I didn't like accounting, but I learned accounting, even though I didn't like it. And so I analyzed, out of more than 300 million people in the United States, how many of them were in Amway. And it was incredibly tiny percentage were in Amway. And so I knew that, and so I started asking my friends, are you in Amway? No. Are you in Amway? No. Are you in Amway? Nobody was in Amway except my secretary.
Oh.
And so I thought, I know all these people who are not in Amway, and I can share this business to them after I heard those tapes. And I can build this business because practically there are very, very few people in it compared to the total population. And so one of the things that I learned on the tapes was that I could pass up my secretary in terms of pin level and volume and income level. I learned on the tapes that I also could pass up her sponsor and pass up his sponsor. And once I learned that that was possible, that I could do that, pass my upline up, I said, that's what I'll do. I'll pass them up. And so I said that to myself, that nobody's going to stop me if all these people I know are not in it. And so, Anil, I immediately went out in literally the first 3 months, I sponsored 78 people.
Oh.
78 people in 3 months. That's the good news. You want to hear the bad news?
Yes, of course.
75 of the 78 quit.
Oh, 75 out of the 78 just left the business.
They eventually quit. Would you like to know who didn't quit?
Yes, who the three were?
Yes. My sister didn't quit
Okay.
because she loved me too much.
Okay.
And my 2 children didn't quit because I wouldn't let them.
Okay.
So everybody else quit.
Oh,
And that's when I should have quit too.
all right. Yeah, you could have been very discouraged at that time.
I was very discouraged.
Right.
But I knew this. Then I started studying it more, and I found out what I did wrong.
Okay.
I sponsored people, but I didn't go out and help them sponsor people.
Right.
Once I started helping my sister sponsor people, she became a Founder's Emerald.
All right.
Once I started helping my daughters sponsor people, they became Founders Platinums.
Wow.
And of course, you remember my daughter, Carla,
Yes.
because Carla came to India.
Oh, yes.
And I remember the first time I brought Carla to India, and she was backstage, and the building was full of distributors, and they had heard of Carla many times.
Oh, yes.
And what a wonderful, she was our business manager. She running our Amway business.
Right.
And the people in India had heard me talk about Carla so much,
Oh, yes.
and heard me talk about Marcia so much. But when Carla was brought out onto the stage,
Right.
the people in the audience rose up
Yes.
and gave her a standing ovation that lasted at least 10 minutes.
I remember, Carl, I was there. It was in Delhi.
And yes, in Delhi, and Carla cried.
Yes.
She was overwhelmed by the love that was coming from that audience to her, because I had done something about Carla that I was teaching the people in India to do, and that was called edification. Right. And so, I would tell people in the audience at meetings how the reason I'm so successful is I didn't arrange my trip here this time. My daughter Carla did. She's our manager. I didn't arrange all these meetings with Anil. My daughter Carla did. I didn't arrange all my flights all over the country to visit 105 cities. My daughter Carla did. And on top of that, my daughter Carla built her own business to Founders Platinum.
Right.
And so she ran our conventions. I think you remember when you came to conventions and you were the speaker at our conventions. Right. Carla was behind the scenes running the show. And so by edifying Carla to the people in India, they saw what an amazing success she was to our business.
Yes.
And they gave her that standing ovation that just literally overwhelmed her.
Yes. She was surprised and she was very emotional that day. That's right. So, Carl,
Now,
to face some more difficulties or struggles while building this business?
Very much. I got extremely discouraged. I wanted to quit so many times. But Anil, Carl Franklin Reardon is not a quit. One of my mottos is, I will never quit. I will never quit. I will never, 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 never quit. I will never give up. I will never give up. I will never, never, never give up. And so although I got discouraged, the turning point became when I started helping my downline sponsor people and started helping my downline make money. Then the business began to take hold and the people began to get committed because they saw that I was committed. And I'll never forget one time in India when I was ready to leave after my first time in India, and I was ready to leave after my trip was over. And I said to the people, I'll be back. And I realized later that the people were skeptical that I would ever be back. However, when I came back, they had a little more faith that I would be back again. And then when I came back again, their faith got stronger. And when I came back again, stronger. Because then they began to believe, yes, he did come back over and over. And yes, he's going to come back again over and over and over until I came 35 times. And I visited more than 105 cities in India.
Yes.
And
yes.
did meetings and conventions all over India. And it was not work. It was love. It was the labor of love to build the Amway business.
You had great passion to build this business, Carl. And what was the turning point when you became extremely committed to this business from just average commitment?
Well, here's what happened. In less than 1 year, we became platinums. And we had a very solid business. And I was still practicing law full time and had built the business to the platinum level. I went to Marcia and I said, Marcia, you're going to be shocked, but I want to give up my practice of law and I want to go into the Amway business full time. And I told my upline, that's what I wanted to do. And they were shocked also because I had a very lucrative law practice. And then, Anil, what happened? They said, Carl, we're not wise enough to tell you to do that. We think that you should speak with our upline, Bill Childers. Have you heard of Bill Childers?
Sure, Carl, I met Bill Childers, and he's a legend. Who doesn't know him?
Yes, he had such a massive business.
Yes.
And so I called Bill Childers and I said, Bill, I have a successful law practice, but I want to give it up and I want to join Amway full time. He said, I'm not so sure, Carl. He said, do you have, are you confident enough that you can do it now? I said, Bill, I'm confident enough to know that I will never quit. And I will keep, if I can do it full time, then I can start traveling more and I can do many, many more meetings and I can build it faster because I will not rest until I become a diamond. He said, well, that's amazing. A diamond is not easy. I said, I know it's not easy. That's why I need to do it full time. But he said, I'm glad you didn't call me before you were platinum. And I said, well, we're not only platinum, but we'll soon be founders platinum because we qualify every single month. And as a matter of fact, we were almost ruby. And you have that pin in India, ruby.
Yeah, we have. We have.
Okay. So he gave it his blessing that I could retire from the practice of law and go into Amway full time. And then in just 3 more years, we walked across his stage in Nashville, Tennessee, as brand new diamonds.
Wow.
And it was such an amazing story.
Carl, how much time did you take to go diamond right from the day you joined? Total time?
4 years.
Just 4 short years, and you were
4
diamond.
short years.
That's amazing.
And then we immediately went Founders Diamond.
Wow.
After we went Diamond, then a few months later, we were Founders Diamond.
Same year.
And then we learned about the business in India. And I had never built a business internationally. And I went back to Bill Childers. And I said, Bill, I think I want to try to open up a business in India. And so he said, Carl, I've seen your commitment to the business to get to Diamond, and I'm confident that you can build a business in India. And so we started out. I made my first trip, and guess who I met on my very, very, very first trip to India? Can you guess it?
I think, Carl, we didn't meet in your first trip.
Oh, really?
I don't think, because I couldn't meet you in my first trip. I think my sponsor, Atul Kumar,
Yes.
he met you in Delhi in your first trip. I met you in your second trip, and our first meeting was when you came to Chandigarh.
Okay, that very well could be. So my second trip to India,
Yes.
I met you.
Yes.
Here's what I know, that after I met you, Atul Kumar disappeared off of the face of the earth.
Yes.
And he was not committed to the business like you were. And I know that after I met you, when I kept returning to India, you were my primary focus.
Wow.
And so you were the reason why I kept coming back over and over and over.
Wow. Carl, one question keeps coming in everybody's mind, that number one, you had a challenge of language. You were not able to speak Hindi or any Indian language. And number two, you did not know anybody in the country. How could you build such a big business in India?
Well, Anil, I have to correct you. I did know the language.
Yes.
I knew three words.
Yours.
Fate Chak Dienge.
Wow, Fate Chak Dienge. But that's amazing, Carl. You remember that. Fate Chak Dienge.
And Namaste.
Namaste, right. Wow.
But I had a good interpreter.
Oh, yes.
That was you.
Yeah, I always translated you everywhere.
You went everywhere with me.
Yeah. And Carl, I still remember when I met you for the first time, and I was not at all committed to the business. And our first meeting, hardly a 10 minutes meeting, and you changed my mind in just 10 minutes. And I became so committed in the business. And it was only because of your mentorship and your belief in me and your faith in me that we could build a big Amway business in India. And all the credit goes to you, Carl. And if you were not there, if you were not my upline, if you were not my mentor, we would not have built such a big business. So I want to thank you right now. Take this opportunity, the way you impacted our life.
Well, and Anil, I want to tell you the feeling is mutual because of the business that you built in India. It took us from the level of founder's diamond to executive diamond. Then the business that you helped us build in India and the business that you built for yourself in India caused us to get a very, very promising, successful business in Russia.
Oh,
And
yeah.
would you like me to explain how that happened?
Yeah. How did you build such a big business? You have many diamonds in Russia, and they keep
Yeah.
calling me even now. They keep
Yes.
inviting me for their seminars. I recently did a seminar in Russia.
I remember when I sent you to Russia the first time, that was back after I after I got started in Russia. Do you remember that?
Yes, my first seminar in Russia. Very well remember.
Yeah. And so what happened with Russia is I was at a diamond meeting in Hawaii, the annual meeting in Hawaii, and I was out on the beach, and someone came to me and said, "There's some people that want to meet you in the hotel conference room." And I said, "Who's that?" And they said, "I think it's Mr. DeVos and Mr. Van Andel, the owners of Amway."
Oh,
And so I went to the conference room and I thought, wow, I wonder if I did something wrong and they're going to chastise me
oh,
for uh, some rules I broke. And so I went into the meeting and they said, and here's what they said. They said, "Carl, we have been watching you and we watched how you built the business in the United States and how you played by the rules. And then we watched how you ventured into India and into Scandinavia and how you played by the rules. We're here to tell you now that we're getting ready to open in Russia. And we want to know if you might have any interest in becoming involved in the Amway business in Russia." And I sat there and I said, "Well, let me think a minute." And I said, "Здравствуйте, как вы поживаете? Спасибо, хорошо. Ты Josh Demoy? Нет. Будь здоров, до свидания."
wow, Russian. It's amazing.
And they said, "You speak Russian?" I said, "I just did." And they said, "We didn't know you spoke Russian."
Oh,
And I said, "And what I just told you was that I very much want to join you in Russia. And so they sponsored me in Russia.
wow.
And that turned out to be a phenomenal blessing in our lives, financially.
Yes.
And they invited us to join them. And so I made 24 trips to Russia. And I know that I sent you to Russia. And I know that I believe I sent Bakshi to Russia.
Yes. Yes.
So
That's amazing, Carl. And Carl, so you were committed to the Amway business for a very long time, and you are still, so committed, and it has become your passion. And
yes,
you have a lot of energy, and you used to come to India and jump up on the stage. And I also try to copy you, because I am your downline and you are my mentor. So, I want to duplicate everything that I saw in you. So, where did you get that energy, so much of energy and passion? How did you develop that?
Anil, to be 100% honest with you, it wasn't work. It was pleasure. Now, did I ever get tired? Yes, I got tired from very long days, and I slept very well at night. And sometimes in India and also in Russia, some of my sleeping accommodations were not always the best. As a matter of fact, in India, many times I stayed at the YMCA in Delhi, and then in Russia, uh, some of the accommodations left room to be desired. But uh, when I laid my head on the pillow, I fell asleep immediately. So I didn't even think about the accommodations. But there were some challenges, there were some hardships. But when I'm thinking about that now because you're asking me these questions. But Anil, until you just asked me, I had totally forgotten about those challenges because the rewards took over. And when you compare the rewards with the challenges, there's no comparison. The financial rewards, let me put it this way. I've made a lot of business decisions in my life, but the single best business decision I've ever made in my entire life is the decision to join the Amway business and to build it to executive diamond. And now today, we don't have to worry about money. Money is just a secondary, it's just a commodity that we have plenty of. And so we give money away to people who need help. We help people that have need. For example, I just spent a couple $1,000 to help upgrade the wiring on a lady's home who she cannot afford. She doesn't have the money to do it. And she's disabled. She can't even walk. But we're upgrading her home right now so she can have heat in the winter and air conditioning in the summer.
Carl, you rightly said, and it was not work, it was pleasure for you. And that's why you could build it for such a long time. And Carl, can you tell us something about your most cherished rewards from this business other than money?
Yes, without a doubt. My most cherished reward is to sit here right now and see your smiling face and to see that I helped someone like you build the business that you have built. But even more important is that you are committed to building it further and further and further. And now with this coronavirus and the use of what are we using today? Zoom?
Yeah, Zoom.
We're using Zoom,
Right.
and sometimes the people use FaceTime. Do you know about FaceTime?
Of course.
Well, I didn't.
Maybe at your age, you are very, very tech savvy.
See what I am?
Yes.
What, let's see, grandpa. I'm Anil. Now I am a grandpa, and I know about Zoom because I get Zoom calls from my grandkids.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Right.
they're 10 years old and they call me on Zoom.
Oh,
They're
good.
10 years old and they call me on FaceTime. And so now what I'm learning is that because of the coronavirus requiring us to stay at home, which we are doing, we are able to use Zoom and FaceTime and vehicles like that to explode our business. right now, I'm in the United States. It's a Saturday morning here, and you're in India. I take it's a Saturday night there,
Right.
and you and we're communicating, and we can communicate like this all over the world and build a business all over the world. Now, do I anybody that's watching this, do I recommend that they immediately branch out into different countries around the world? No, not until you build it in India first. At the very least, go Founders Platinum in India. Build a very, very solid business in India before you start trying to branch out, because what this business takes is focus.
Right.
It takes elaborate, generous focus, and learn how to keep away from distractions.
That's amazing, Carl. The ways of building the business have totally changed. This is now totally a digital business, and we are doing all the meetings on this Zoom, and our teams have become really connected, very close. And we are doing so many meetings that we have been able to teach all the outstations groups very, very fast. So this has been a big blessing actually in disguise.
Yeah, there's one more observation I want to make. Of course, Marcia and I are very loyal to the Amway business and purchasing products from the Amway business. And Marcia still buys the products, and she still gives them away. We use them ourselves, and she gives them to friends. Now, and over the years, without even trying, Marcia's built up a large number of customers. Now there's something new that just happened to our lives because of the coronavirus. And that is, we stopped going to grocery stores. We stopped going to any stores.
Yeah.
We stay at home. And now the stores come to us. Have you ever heard of Amazon?
Right. We use it all the time.
You guys, okay. Everything now, our Amway products come from Amway, but our other products come from Amazon.
Right.
And we used to laugh about Amazon. When Amazon first got started, I used to say, I'm a diamond and I make more money than Amazon makes.
Right.
But now Amazon has grown into causing Jeff Bezos to become the richest man in America.
In the world, Carl.
Okay, so now here's what people need to learn. People are relying more and more and more on products coming to their doorstep rather than getting in their cars and going out to stores.
Right.
And after the coronavirus is over, they're still going to be in the habit of ordering more products from their doorstep. They will, or to their doorstep, they will go out to stores, but not as much. And so this is a whole new direction that the country, that the world is taking. And that will happen more and more in India, like it is in the United States, with people having more products coming from home. And because of that, more people will become receptive to joining Amway because they can get the Amway products to their doorstep and they can share the Amway business opportunity with others, with their friends and relatives. So, Anil, contrary to what many people think, I have a prediction to make, and I'm joined by many other people who are high up in the Amway business. and that is we haven't we have not seen the explosion in the Amway business that is still on the horizon. The best is yet to come, and if people don't understand that, then they haven't listened to my tape.
Wow. Carl, your talks we still remember, and some of your talks like define your dream, freedom was the reason. I have listened to those tapes more than 100 times, and they really impacted my thought process. And the way I think today, I have borrowed from you, and now it has become a part of my thought process, and I have almost copied you everywhere, Carl.
Well, please be sure to understand that because you have copied me and I saw the results, I keep copying you.
Wow.
So the feeling is mutual.
Wow, Carl, you are such an amazing person. You can make anybody feel great all the time, and we feel blessed to have you in our upline. Thank you, Carl. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.